Hi, and welcome to Strong Beautiful You. And today and every day that we get into this PEGTV kitchen, we are building that strength from the inside out. So we're going to focus on making a delicious meal, and I have some really great treats for you today because I've got some amazing information that my family and I have discovered while we've been in lockdown, and we are just feeling amazing, and I want you to be able to feel amazing too. So in today's episode, we are going to make a delicious sage mushroom cauliflower soup. And when I found this, the cauliflower wasn't even in the title, but it's such an important piece of this soup. So stick around, it's going to be absolutely delicious. I'll share with you what you need to make the soup. We're also going to cover what was that missing piece for myself and my family. What did we discover through this lockdown? We made some very slight tweaks to our diet, our meal plans, and everyone's feeling amazing. I'm going to share with you also how my husband lost 10 pounds in 10 days. He wasn't doing any kind of strenuous exercise, just our hiking, our paddling. He plays a lot of disc golf, and no crazy restrictive diet. So really, really exciting. He's 52 years old, and if you are over 35, you may understand the sort of weight struggle. So he's been trying to get that off, and he's looking amazing. We are also going to share with you a couple of healthy foods you might be eating that aren't so healthy, that actually taste really good. They seem like they might be healthy, but what's happening on the inside isn't so great. And we'll talk about what you can replace that with. And then finally, we'll touch on clarity, focus, and boundaries. So one of the main things is we're all at home, and many of you are cooking at home. I'm getting messages, you're sharing photos with me, asking for recipes, which is really, really amazing. Lots of you, judging by the shelves in the supermarket, are making baked goods with bleached flour and stuff. And so have fun, but let's also get some nutrition in. So if you're at home and you're cooking and you feel like you're spending your life cooking and cleaning, this dish is a great soup, and you can double the recipe to have on hand as leftovers. Anything that you can make in bulk and you can store and freeze or refrigerate is going to be amazing, especially if you're doing most of your cooking at home. I know we're all eating at home, or maybe you're getting some takeout and you're eating in your car somewhere or in a park, but most of us are at home. So you want to be looking at those things that what can I make that is not just going to be a one-time deal, and this soup is it. So you obviously need cauliflower. So we need a medium head of cauliflower, and we are going to go ahead and we're going to chop that up coarsely. We are also going to mince an onion. I happen to have a red onion today. If you prefer a Vidalia onion or something sweeter, you are more than welcome to use that. I have already got ahead of myself and prepped the garlic. I love garlic. There's never enough garlic for me. So if you do not share my love of garlic, I would put 1 to 2 cloves in. If you love garlic, go for 4. I love that. You're also going to want 2 ribs of celery, and I'll go back over this as we prep, but you'll need the celery. We've got 2 whole pounds of mushrooms. Now again, if you've got a pound of mushrooms, you got everything else, but you don't have 2 pounds of mushrooms, make the soup anyway. It will be delicious. So 2 pounds of mushrooms. I have baby bellas. If there's a mushroom that you prefer, go for it. I love the flavor of these baby bellas. We are going to zest the lemon, so you need zest of 1 lemon, and then you're just going to wrap that for when you want to use the lemon juice, and we're going to actually use it to make our salad dressing. What else do we've got? A bunch of spices. We've got some vegetable broth. We're going to use avocado oil. Again, if you do not have avocado oil in your home, please don't worry about it. You can use olive oil. So we've got simple salt, pepper, onion powder. I've got some thyme. If you can use fresh thyme, if you've got that on hand, go for it. And then you're gonna need about 3 cups of coconut milk. So that is our ingredients. If you see the salad in the bowl with the local greens ready to go, that's going to be our green salad. Super easy when we're all set. So the first thing we're going to do is quick prep. A lot of times for the show, I prep first but I'm gonna do it with you today just to show you how quick and easy this is. So you wanna chop the onion. Remember, really watch those fingers, and I know everyone's a grown-up, and my kids tell me I'm a grown-up, you don't need to tell me that anymore, but you know what, even grown-ups cut their fingers with chef's knives. So be really, really mindful, especially your kids are hanging out, maybe you're doing a Zoom cocktail hour, whatever. You want to make sure you know where your fingers are. So you want to go ahead and you can be somewhere between minced and chopped. You don't want huge chunks, but it's not super duper important that they're teeny tiny. I'm going to get those onions right off of there. And then I'm going to go ahead and, well, here's the cauliflower. So I'm going to cut that. It's right in front of me. I always almost moved over to the mushrooms. You want to get out this like really hardy stem, and you can do that by cutting like I did, that big leafy part out. And then we're just going to get that. You don't really want to eat the stem, not that you couldn't, but it's not the tastiest of things ever. So get that out of there. And then you're going to just chop that up. So you want to make sure, just going to be big and chopped. And I will tell you, just so you know, later, if you have an immersion blender, you're going to be using that. So once this stuff is all soft and cooked, you're either going to use an immersion blender. My eyes are tearing, I'm not sad, it's just the onions. Or you may, I've got my food processor set up over there, and I can use that if I don't have an immersion blender handy. So just so you know, that's why it doesn't have to be teeny tiny, but you don't want to leave these huge chunks. So let's just check. We're getting some heat there. And you need about 3 tablespoons of avocado oil divided. I am not a big measure. If you follow the show at all, you know that I'm not a big measure, and I'm probably gonna do at most, to start, a tablespoon, just to get that going. The avocado oil is lovely, and we're just gonna wanna make sure that we don't have too much oil. I don't love things too oily. So since I already cut this, if I didn't have anything else on the cutting board, I'd simply bring the cutting board to the pan, and which is what I'm gonna do. But since I've got all this stuff, I'm gonna be super careful, right? I don't wanna take the hot pot. And again, flipping that knife over, getting that lovely sizzling sound. And just get those onions going. Now, you're going to want to stir those around, let them get coated with the oil, and then it can be on a medium to high flame while you're prepping the other things. So that's what's really cool about this dish, is you can be prepping, cooking, prepping, cooking. So we're going to get the onion in, let that cook a little bit, and then we'll throw the garlic in as well. Now we've got the cauliflower cut. You need those 2 ribs of celery, and we're gonna again just chop those. So I'm just trimming them. I'm gonna trim off those white bottoms and the leafy tops. Those are really good for juicing. You could throw that in a smoothie. And I'm just gonna go down, and again, if you are not like well versed with the knife, take your time. Take your time if you are well versed, and keep your fingers away from that blade. Last thing you need right now is any sort of an injury, a cooking injury. So we've got that. Now we've got, the next thing we have is our mushrooms and our sage. Those are the last things that we need to prep. I know I mentioned quite a few things when we started, right? So what were some of the tweaks that we made? About 7 months ago, as a family, we stopped eating animal products. I stopped eating all animal products. Some of my family had some cheese or some type of an animal product, but we generally removed meat from our diets. Everyone felt a little bit better, not earth-shattering, but better, and along with some just ethical for us decisions. So that's up to you if you want to remove meat or you don't. So we removed that, and we noticed, oh, we do feel better, and we have a little more clarity and energy. And we're eating all vegetables, and we were not doing just like breads and pancakes and all that kind of stuff, like really eating whole foods, veg, etc. And we found, I still wasn't feeling great. My husband was not losing any weight. And we were curious, what's going on? I've been in the industry for over 20 years, longer than that at this point. And I was wondering, what are we doing wrong? I've got all this information. We've removed dairy, we've removed gluten. We came through research to find that what was bothering us was something, and it's a little scientific, but you can look it up, called lectins, which are proteins found in vegetables. There are some vegetables have lectins that our bodies can handle, and some have lectins that our bodies cannot handle. The other interesting thing is that everyone's body is different, as you know. So some things maybe my husband could handle that I couldn't. So the lectins was something that we really discovered and looked into. And so what were some of the healthy foods we were eating before? Squashes, zucchini, bananas. My husband was eating a ton of bananas, and any of you that have known us for a while know that was a huge part of our diet, right? We think we're eating healthy, but what was happening was the bananas were signaling our bodies that winter was coming. Hold on to fat, right? We need to fatten up for winter. So we're eating all these bananas, and our bodies are still stuck back in the times of, when you couldn't get that in the winter. And so our bodies are still responding. I'm going to add the cauliflower and celery. Hey, you're getting a little science lesson along with the meal. And I'm just going to wait on those mushrooms until I finish the rest of them. All right, so let's mix everything you put in, just mix it up. So if that is intriguing to you, go ahead and just look up lectins. You're gonna find a ton of information on Google. You can always message me with questions. But that was a big deal for us. So I already wasn't eating a ton of bananas because they weren't really working for me, but my husband took those out of his diet. What did he replace that with? Certainly didn't replace all the bananas, but we have been doing a lot more avocado, healthy fats. You want to make sure that you're feeding and fueling your body in a way that your brain can function, right? So a lot of the things we do, we don't always know what is that effect on the inside, right? So I highly encourage you to look that up. You don't have to be a doctor. I'm not saying there's not very value in working with someone if this is a path you want to take, but just to start to get that preliminary info is a really, really great idea. And paying attention to what you're putting in your body, even if you think it's healthy, and how you're feeling. Or is your weight changing? I couldn't keep weight on, so that was a different issue, right? But my weight has regulated now. So I would recommend looking into that. The fruit was a big deal. We were eating a ton of fruit. And we've removed a lot of the fruit, leaving in some berries, seasonal berries, things like that. Avocado is actually a fruit. And you'll see we'll use cucumber in our salad today, but I'm going to remove the skin and the seeds. So there are ways to have some things like squashes or zucchini if you remove the skin and the seeds, which removes a lot of the lectins. So it's something you may not have heard of before. Maybe some of you are sitting there screaming at the TV saying, oh, you know all about that. So I highly encourage you to look that up. That was the missing piece. And how my husband lost that 10 pounds in the 10 days is he simply found a yes and no list for lectins, and we have adjusted our diets to include delicious meals we were already cooking at home, and we pay attention to those foods that help us to feel good and the ones that don't. So that was the missing piece, and that is how Dave really ate as much as he wanted to within the parameters. And there are delicious things. There's chocolate cakes, and there's, there's all different. We've made soups and different salads, different dressings, different desserts, different sort of like chocolate mousse. There's vanilla cakes too, my kids have made. So there's all kinds of things you can eat when you're doing lectin-free. that are delicious, just a little slight change. And then what you find is that your tastes will change. So the next thing we're gonna cut up after our little lesson on lectins, and I'll tell you another interesting thing about lectins in a moment, is our sage. So this is fresh sage. Again, if you don't have fresh sage in the house, don't say this is a done deal and I can't make this. You can if you have some dried sage. Use it, right? Don't cut yourself short. And I always wish you could smell the kitchen. The sage smells fabulous. So we're gonna get this in there and then we're gonna season it up. So we'll get all of the seasonings in and we'll go ahead and we will also zest that lemon. So sage in. The lemon, you're going to want to, you can use it, you can actually get a zester. I'm using a hand grater. So I'm just going to go all the way around this lemon and go right in. It will give it a lovely bright taste. So if you do cook, you know that that citrus brings a brightness, right? Or if you listen to any kind of cooking shows, I'm not I'm not professionally trained, as you know. I love, love, love to cook and to share that, and that's one thing I look forward to again, is sharing meals with folks in person. This smells fabulous. Now, I've got all these great veggies in here. It's time to add the spices and the liquids. So we're gonna do 1 teaspoon of thyme, and we'll just get that in there. We're gonna do 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and we're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Now again, if you prefer more or less salt, do it. You can see I'm not totally measuring, so I'm gonna just do the 1 because it went all over. The 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper is what you're gonna want here. All right, let's see if we can get some. There we go. And then we also have mustard powder and onion powder. So 1/2 teaspoon of dried mustard and 1/2 teaspoon of dried onion powder. So these are just gonna flavor it up, and it is going to be so delicious. You are gonna absolutely love this. So you get all those spices in there, stir those veggies. They're starting to reduce. You can see that they're cooking in there. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, they're starting to really go. So now we want to add in the liquid. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in 3 cups of coconut milk. And we're going to add in 3 cups of broth, vegetable broth. Now, if you prefer chicken broth, you can use it. I'm shaking these up. You can certainly use a spatula to scoop this out. And then you can decide with your liquid if you're going to add any more in. So sometimes I admit I end up adding more depending on the look. Now with coconut milk, what you're going to find is I shook this up a little bit, not a ton. So the water and the cream separated, not a big deal because we're putting it in right directly into this pot. And from there, we're gonna mix it together, so it's not gonna matter. If you're using coconut milk for a dessert, or I have a delicious mug cake recipe that I can share another time, you're gonna wanna make sure this is all mixed in so that the fat and the water are all together. We're gonna be able to deal with that here. It's not a big deal. So if you see a big splash, that's what that is. All right. So get that in. And remember, you're gonna bring this up to a boil. So this could be medium to high heat. And then you're gonna add in that broth as well. So I'm gonna mix this up to get that so that I can get the coconut milk. You can kind of see that, right? So I wanna get that all mixed in. And then here comes the broth. Now, of course, you can make your own. I chose to purchase mine. Right, but I also do have at home a container with spices that create a bouillon. So instead of purchasing bouillon with all the chemicals and stuff in it, we just made a little spice mix. So if I don't have vegetable broth, with me, then guess what? I can use the spices and water. So that's really good. Okay. Okay. And now that is going to cook. So we're going to let that cook for a bit. And as that's cooking, I'm going to get the salad ready. Right? So we're going to get that salad ready. And one of the things that we found, and I told you I would tell you a little bit more about what the lectins were. So plants are not just like living things that just hang out and wait for us to come along and eat them. They're actually living things. So what the lectins are is they protect the plant. So if you're going to eat that plant and you don't feel good when you eat the plant, or your mouth goes on fire, you're probably not going to eat that plant again, right? That is the plant's defense mechanism, right? Sometimes there's poison, sometimes there's prickers, sometimes your mouth feels funny. So that would be your signal not to eat it again. That's what the lectins do. Not all lectins behave that way. For our salad, leafy greens are easily digested. If you are someone suffering with digestive disorders, you're going to want to steam your greens and eat cooked things for quite some time. This is a lovely local bag of greens that you can see all the water in there, pre-washed. I am just going to take some of those. I'm going to make the easiest salad ever, right? I just bought these lovely, lovely local greens. And they are, there's all different things in here. It looks like some spinach, some maybe escarole, some arugula. I love microgreens and I love arugula. So again, super easy. We're just going to take them out and sprinkle them on the salad. Now, remember we had that lectin conversation and we talked about de-seeding and peeling. So that's exactly what I'm going to do with the cucumber. I'm going to just take that skin right off of it, because I know, now that I know, that the skin is where those lectins are that are protecting the cucumber so it can keep reproducing and living on. I know that those don't work for me. Never knew that, right? So I'm going to take the skin off, and you'll see that in just a sec. So now we've skinned that, and then we're going to want to pull out the seeds. So that's really, really important, because that's another place where those lectins are stored. So you just take a little, a teaspoon. I'm happening to use my measuring spoons, and I'm just going to go ahead and see, I'm just scraping it right into the compost, into whatever you have, garbage. Now we've got that. Just slice it right up. No seeds. It smells. I love the smell of cucumber. We're just gonna sprinkle that in. And again, of course, if you have a bigger family, you're gonna make a bigger salad. And then I may even just save those cucumbers. We're gonna throw in a carrot. We've got a nice local carrot. If you can go locally to your co-op, your farmer's market, that's gonna be your best bet, because you're gonna get what's in season, which is always your best bet for eating. You wanna eat the things that are in season, not things that, like I said, the bananas, right? That's signaling our body that winter's coming. And then we're holding on and storing fat for the winter when winter's really not coming. So we want to send the right signals to our body. So just slice up that carrot nice and thin, however you like it, watching your fingers. My kids are sick of me saying that. Maybe you are too. And now look at that. It gives it a little bit of color. And then I have an Empire apple. Again, a local apple. That's what it said at the co-op. Local apples. And I'm going to just pull those seeds out, and I'm just going to sprinkle that apple in, or that half of an apple in. All right, so we've got a lovely green salad waiting for us while our soup is cooking. So let's go and check back on that. Oh, this looks great. So we're just going to cook this for a couple more moments. And then we're going to go ahead and we're gonna blend it up. Now, salad dressing, super duper easy. You can certainly purchase it, but a lot of salad dressings have chemicals and sugars and things that you don't want. So today, I'm gonna use avocado oil, and I am going to simply put a tablespoon of avocado oil into my measurer. All right. And actually, I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons. So we'll do 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. And I've got some apple cider vinegar, which is also has fantastic health benefits. So it'll be a great thing to put into our salad dressing. So I'm just gonna do a tablespoon of that. And then remember our lemon from earlier that we zested? Whoop, it would help if I put the right cap on. We are gonna cut that lemon. And we're gonna go ahead and juice it. Now I'm holding this tablespoon here because what I expect is gonna happen is some of those seeds are gonna come out. And I don't want them in the dressing. So if they're in my tablespoon, I can deal with them. So really, really easy way and I'm gonna just hold those seeds back. All right, now we could use that second half, but what I'm gonna do, and again, you can add sweetener to it, you could add salt, pepper, whatever you like. I have this neat little frother. It was less than $2. I use it a lot if I was doing like coconut milk or something in my coffee. I like to blend it and make it frothier. This is phenomenal for a salad dressing too, especially with these ingredients, because you're gonna see it looks lovely and creamy when there's no cream in it at all. We are going to go ahead and blend this. Now again, you can use a food processor, you can use an immersion blender, or you could use a high-powered blender. Any of that is fine. It's very, 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 very hot, so you've got to be super careful about that as you go and do this. You may have to do it in batches depending on the size of what you're using. The best bet would be an immersion blender. And an immersion blender is going to be your best bet. You're gonna wanna decide, do you like some chunks in your soup or do you prefer it to be super duper smooth? If you like it a little bit chunky, you can leave it a little bit chunky, right? And then you can go ahead and you could do a blend, right? So that has some chunk to it. So I'm gonna turn this back on, take some more of the chunk out. And then we still have some, believe it or not, coconut milk in the stock pot. Now, this is fantastic because you're gonna have so much, depending on how big your family is. I'm gonna actually pour it back in here. You are gonna have leftovers for days. Be very careful. See that splattering? I don't wanna get hit with any of that. So get that nice and low, put it back in the stock pot. Now I left some chunks of veg in the stock pot. You can see some mushrooms floating there, but it really looks like a lovely coconut-y soup. And if you could smell that, you could smell the mushrooms and the sage, and we'll serve some of that so that you can see that. And this is just fabulous because you can have this for days. Now, if you are like, I really like this, but I don't want to eat it for a whole week, then freeze it. Go ahead and freeze it. So we got a couple of chunks of veg in there. Oh, it looks so good. And then what I would recommend with this soup is take a little sprig of sage. Just make it look pretty. And you can just put a piece of sage over that soup. If you want to blend your salad dressing a little bit more, you can do that. And then I would just do a teeny little bit of salad dressing. That's because that's what I like. But again, do what you like. and then we'll get all of this out of the way for you so you can see this lovely meal. Really, really wonderful. Try switching some of those vegetables. Try looking up those lectins and then really focusing on feeling good with the foods that you're putting into your bodies, and you're probably going to notice that you release some weight or gain some weight if you needed to do that like I did, and you'll start to have more clarity, be able to focus, and you want to set boundaries so you're eating healthy foods. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have a great time making your sage mushroom cauliflower soup and a green salad. I hope you absolutely love it. I would love to hear from you, and let me know what else you'd like to cook together. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.